Mission Fonds monétaire international y complète un lot revue performance économique, réforme économique Seychelles en disant qu'il en a un très bon progrès. Mission IMF in the pays pendant sa 10 derniers jours pour faire une évaluation sa derniers 3 mois jusqu'à 1 salonnais. C'est sa mission il dit que sa très bonne performance pour amener bénéfice pour les peuples seychellois. Il peut cause côté une conférence la prise que la Banque centrale après-midi.
I'm happy to report that all the performance criteria at the end of June were met, and the mission will recommend that the next tranche of the standby arrangement to be released, and that would be about $1.4 million. The stabilization of the economy has continued to gain strength as the government and the central bank are continuing to implement the program with determination. The early signs of success that we noted when we were here in May are becoming reality, and the rupee has strengthened further, and prices and interest rates are coming down. This very strong performance has been made possible by a very tight budget and by appropriate monetary policies, and is strong evidence that the program is continuing to work and is achieving its objectives. Also, the economy appears to be gaining some strength, and we believe that the decline in the real GDP that we had forecast earlier at 11% will be somewhat less than we had feared at the time. That's also a good sign and good news. Looking ahead, the key objectives of the program are to consolidate the macroeconomic stability by maintaining the tight fiscal policy and by progressively putting in place the supporting structural reforms to remove the constraints to growth and improve the performance of the public sector. Strong progress on inflation reduction and the appreciation of the rupee has permitted a gradual easing of monetary policy, which will continue. The pace of structural reform must be maintained, particularly on the major reinforcement of control over the parastatal sector to address weaknesses which, if left unaddressed, would put at risk the hard-won gains in macro stabilization and in public finances. So excellent progress is being made in preparation for the parastatal reform, and early steps have already been taken, especially as regard the external financial audits and management audits which are underway. And the results of these audits need to be leveraged into action plans to improve the performance of the parastatal sector.
Et cette mission IMF aussi cause la réforme du système taxe en disant qu'il y a une préparation est dans un stade très avancé. Il dit que ça est nécessaire pour assurer que tout le monde et tout secteur est traité pareil. Concernant dette extérieure pays, ça il dit rester insoutenable, mais il quand même accueille des masses gouvernement pour continuer à négocier pour restructuration sur une dette extérieure.
The tax reform, which is being prepared and has considerable IMF technical assistance to go alongside of the efforts, aims to harmonize the rates, broaden the tax base, and raise self-compliance while maintaining the overall tax take of the economy. The objective is not to raise tax revenues above the general level that they are now, but to make the system fair, more efficient, and to reduce some rates and harmonize rates. Seychelles' public external debt remains unsustainable, and here good progress is being made in advancing the discussions on the restructuring, and the mission encourages the authorities to continue to press ahead with these discussions to restructure their debt consistent with Seychelles' very limited debt service capacity. Here, I'd like to explain that the debt service capacity of the country is determined by the IMF in consultation with the authorities on the basis of the country's capacity to pay, and the amounts that the country at Seychelles is asking to have its debt reduced by are consistent with those projections and that analysis. And when these discussions are concluded and Seychelles begins to repay its debt, to service its debt, it will be a perfectly smooth transition for the country, since the amount of reduction is consistent with the country's payments capacity. Finally, we will expect to return to Seychelles in late October for discussions on the third review of the standby arrangement and on the extended fund facility, the EFF, which would support the country's reform efforts in its financial program for the period 2010 through to 2012.